Hello everybody, this is Havoc and welcome to a Thrones of Britannia video. If you're not following Total War on social media, on Reddit, on the forums, then this is going to be brand spanking new information for you. And first, I would like to say the image at the top of the blog is what I'm hoping is going to be a minor settlement, an image of in-game minor settlement. It looks really good, and you'll notice the mountains in the background, which would probably put this, I don't know, either in Wales or maybe upwards in Scotland. I'm not really quite sure. I guess we'll find out later, but regardless, it does look pretty gorgeous. They are bringing in a lot of color, I feel, into this. I was kind of surprised by that. But anyways, this is a really solid blog post, and it gives us a lot of good information. A lot of information that I was not expecting until next year sometime. So to see this before the end of the year, in the middle of January, or the middle of December, is really awesome. I'm very excited, and we're going to go ahead and dive right on into it. First, we have a size comparison. So right off the bat, once this Saga title was announced, I know a lot of people, the first question on their mind was, how big is it going to be? Are we going to see a Caesar in Gaul up close? You know, are we going to see something more drawn out? I mean, like, what are we going to see in terms of size for this map? Like, how detailed is it going to be? Well, here you go. This image that we are looking at right now, it is, the top right corner is the size of the British Isles in Total War Attila, the base game, and the image you're seeing that's taken up the rest of the map is the Thrones of Britannia British Isles. It is 23 times bigger. 23 times bigger than the Total War Attila British Isles. That is huge, and while they say it's comparable to the Grand Campaign map, I don't think it's quite that big. You would have to be really probably 50 to 60 times bigger than the Total War Attila British Isles. But regardless, it is that kind of that grandeur style. I mean, there is a lot in this map, and I think it is honestly going to be the most detailed Total War Attila map we've seen to date, like completely 100%. It is for sure the most detailed British Isles map we've ever seen in a Total War Attila game, and it encompasses all of it. I also want to note real quick that down in the bottom right corner, we do see a little bit of France. Mind you that by the end of this game, by the technical end date, we do lead right up to the Battle of Hastings. So that's just something we don't get to do anything there. There's nothing there. But I think that's probably where we might see an invasion come from. Anyways, so yeah, a absolutely huge campaign map. We are going to be seeing a lot of details in here, a lot of terrain variation, because that is the British Isles. They are very much widely terrained. You'll have the highlands in the north, you have the plains down in the south in England, and then of course there's Ireland. But regardless, I'm very excited because this gives us a really good detailed map, which is one of the biggest concerning things I had personally, was how big it was going to be and how detailed, because Age of Charlemagne, the Age of Vikings mod for it, is a great mod, but the Age of Charlemagne's map is not very big and not very detailed, so you kind of got bored with it overall, I feel. Next up, we have the factions, and you're seeing all of the factions that are in this game. We can play as 10 of these guys, which will naturally be some of the bigger ones, but as you can see here, they do have a bunch of very strange names, most of which I'm really not even going to try and pronounce, because I would just embarrass myself yet once again, because I'm terrible at pronouncing things. Why did they go with these names, and why is it distributed like this? We're going to get into that just real quick. So for the names, they decided to stay true to the era. They said that they had tried modern names at first. For instance, Sussex or Wessex was there, Mercia, East Anglia, you know, it was all those Northumbria. But it got to the point when they started breaking these up into the smaller clans and the smaller factions that it just sounded weird. For instance, when they said having the Vikings of Cambridge come to raid, it just felt weird. Like, you don't want to say the Vikings of Cambridge. So instead, they gave them their old Norse name based on the region they were in. So I think that's really good. It's going to make it hell on earth for people like me who can't pronounce names worth of crap. But regardless, I like that. I like that they're trying to keep it historically authentic as possible within the Total War realm. As you know, there are things that just wouldn't make for interesting content if they kept it purely historical. So yeah, that's why they named those. They also had a faction distribution issue, mainly because things like Wessex, I'm going to say Wessex because I can't say those old names, West Seax, is that right? West Seax? I don't know. Anyways, so for instance, Wessex at this point in time was most likely unified completely in the south, which means in the Thrones of Britannia, they would have started out with 9 fully controlled provinces, not settlements, not regions, 9 provinces. And that's a little bit OP. So what they did instead is instead of having Wessex as a whole, they broke it up into West Seax, Defina, Curnu, South Seax, Kent, etc. So they just kind of broke up that whole region to basically make it a little more even for all those starting factions. Now, mind you, once we get modding in here, I fully expect to see a faction unlock mod, which will allow us to play as any of these guys. So in terms of like it being balanced, it probably won't be once that's unlocked. But I get what they're saying. They don't want Sussex or Wessex to be so OP and just be able to flood the north and just take over everything regardless, because it was the largest kingdom at the time. So I'm okay with that. The historical accuracy inside of me is a little bit torn, but it makes sense. As they said, we looked at the territories within the lands of Wessex, and we know that they had ealdormen, the Anglo-Saxon equivalent of later earls or dukes. So in doing so, they kind of just broke off what the ealdormen, who would have been loyal to Wessex, what the ealdormen would have had in terms of territory. And so it just really adds a good sense of authenticity. And also in terms of the history behind it, they looked up quite a few historical documents: the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle for England, the Annals Cambria for the Wales, and the Annals of Ulster. And then they also brought in Dr. Neil McGuigan, I don't know how to say that, from the University of St. Andrews, because North Britain and Scotland didn't have any accurate things. They think that maybe the annals for that got lost in the Viking raids. So they brought in some really solid help to bring this all together and make sure that it looks really good. Again, kudos to Total War for really kind of doing their research and really bringing a sense of immersion and historical accuracy in. Next up, we do have a provincial layout, just kind of again with all of the old style names in there, but there are quite a few provinces in here. And then we also take a look at the settlements in the game, and it will be it's really cool. I mean, I don't even know how many we got total, but I mean, we probably got at least 3 or 4 dozen settlements, maybe even more, minor settlements included. I mean, if there are 9 provinces that Sussex could have had, or Wessex could have had, that's 27 settlements right there. So that's really, really interesting. And then one thing that I wanted to bring up, which gives me a little bit of sense of hesitancy, but at the same time I'm excited, is they've kind of broken up how they do things with the settlements. For instance, in the image, you'll be able to work out there's been a change in how the provinces are constructed. They're still made up of multiple regions, but they're trying something different. Province capitals are all walled and will have 6 building slots as well as garrisons. So of course that makes sense. That's the stronghold of the region. Minor settlements do not. Now I take that as they are not walled and they do not have garrisons. That's a little bit iffy for me, I think, but it makes sense in terms of historical accuracy that not every single settlement would have a garrison, or at least a defendable garrison. And so instead of wasting troops on something that could just get wiped out easily, they decided not to have them. Minor settlements will have no walls and either 1 or 2 building slots. The available building types for each settlement will be predefined and based on characteristics of the land around it. This could be a farm, an iron mine, or an abbey. So basically, you got, from what I take of that, you'll have 1 to 2 building slots for your minor settlements, mind you, and it will always be either a farm, an iron mine, or an abbey based on where you are in the region. I'm a little bit hesitant about it, but given the historical time, I don't think we're going to be seeing sanitation things. I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of the things we saw before, because you got to remember, this is the Dark Ages. This is a time where technology wasn't super prevalent per se, and so I don't think your building types are going to be so completely varied. Again, it kind of bums me because I do like that specialization and being able to do what I want, but at the same time I understand, and I think it could potentially be really good. You also got to factor this in that I'm going to talk about next. In this way, the system is more of a cross between the Shogun 2 provinces, with resource building located outside the main settlement, but combined with the Rome 2 and later system that allows for each of the minor settlements to be controlled independently. What that means is, much like Shogun 2 and Empire, your farms, your abbeys, your iron mines will all be outside of the settlement. Which also means that your raiding armies, your armies can come in, they can pillage that farm, they can hold that iron mine and make money off of it and denying you some. And I honestly don't know what the potential for, sacking an abbey would be. But it does bring some more strategy out that I think a lot of people have been crying for. No longer are you going to have to, besiege a minor settlement just to kind of extort them or just raid them. It instead is a lot more strategic. If I want to starve out a faction, I can go to their only province and I can raid their farm and just sit on it. They're eventually going to have to come out or they'll starve to death. Or I can lay siege to a minor settlement that doesn't have walls and doesn't have a garrison, forcing the AI to react more quickly. I think it brings a layer of strategy down, and I think it will be interesting to see how they mix that Shogun 2 and Rome 2 and later style of buildings and resource management. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. Attacking minor settlements can be a good way to force opponents, as well as besieging those resources. They're going to talk about the design of that building system, the mechanics later, and I'm very excited to see how they handle that and how it works. We'll hopefully get some in-game footage to really see what is going on there. And then last but not least, in the next update, they're going to start talking about how they're building the narrative and those that emerge from the sandbox nature of the campaign and from scripted events. But I did want to show you this last piece. I'm going to have a link to this blog. This piece of map is absolutely massive. It is 5,000 pixels by 4,500 pixels. And what it does, you see the map key in the corner, it gives you all sorts of things. You have terrain styles. You have where potential special, I'm assuming, buildings are that you probably can't have in every region. For instance, like a long port, it makes sense that those are obviously going to be on the coast, but they're not everywhere. There's only a long port way up in Scotland, maybe? I don't know. I don't see it. Never mind. I'm gonna retract that. But regardless, there are things like great halls, markets, monasteries, long ports. There is also a surprising amount of depth in the resource management, and it would be interesting to see how that works, if there's any incentive for having certain resources like there are mildly in Attila and beyond. But we have abbeys, cattles, cloth, copper, fish, food, fruits, furs, gold, iron, lead, pottery, saints, which is weird to have that as a resource, salt, silver, tin, trade, and wood. So again, hopefully they'll go over that a little more. A lot of these areas do have a lot of resources within them. So we'll see how well that's going to affect how you play and interact with the other factions. That is about it, guys. I'm very surprised. I am surprised at how detailed this is going to be and how big this map is and the things in there. Having resources outside of the settlement will be an interesting concept, considering that you can no longer just send one unit out to do that, and that's what it used to do in Empire. Everyone used to do that in Empire and Shogun too. But yeah, a lot of factions. There's 10 starting factions, along with a whole host of other minor factions. A lot of settlements. I'm just very excited to see more about this, which we'll see next year. Hopefully, right as soon as the new year would be great. But anyways, guys, that's it for this video. Sorry for it being so long. There was a lot of content to go through and talk about. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. This is Havoc, and I'm out of here. Peace.